kind of stumbled into franchising about 8 years ago. Stepped in as president of Shelf Genie Franchise System, had the opportunity to support our franchise owners all across North America, and really fell in love with the franchise model. Just saw the power behind it and how it allows people with different backgrounds to step into business ownership.
Welcome to the LeaderPass Studios Executive Series Behind the Leadership Curtain. I'm your host, Jamie Minton, and today we're diving into the world of non-food franchising with John Ostenson, a trailblazer in this fast-growing industry. As a visionary behind FranBridge Consulting, John has guided countless entrepreneurs toward success in franchise opportunities beyond the typical food and hospitality sectors. His innovative approach has not only helped others build recession-resistant businesses, but has also earned him significant accolades, including a spot on the prestigious Inc. 5000 list, recognizing his company as one of the fastest growing private companies in America. Join us as we explore John's journey from corporate executive to one of the top franchise consultants in the country and learn how his groundbreaking strategies are reshaping the franchising landscape. John, it's good to have you. Great to have you on the executive series here at LeaderPass Studios, and great to get to know you and about what you do for a living.
Excited to be here. I know your team's been great to work with, and look forward to a great conversation.
That's awesome. Well, I want to jump into what you do now because it's fascinating. Non-food franchising, which I did not know that term. I have not heard that. I understand you probably coined that.
Yeah.
That was one of your phrases. But before we do, talk about your life, and we're here in Atlanta. You're an Atlanta businessman. Tell me about your family and then what you did prior to this.
Yeah, I've got a beautiful wife and 3 young kids, and so we're in the thick of things right now. But spent most of my career in the Atlanta area, and I had a long corporate run. Was an executive. I started with Accenture, and then went back to grad school, and then moved up the ladder at Carter's Oshkosh B'gosh. I never thought I'd be in that industry, but had a great experience, and I could have stayed there forever. But I always had that desire to do something a little more entrepreneurial. Couldn't put my thumb on what that was, but it kind of stumbled into franchising about 8 years ago. Stepped in as president of Shelf Genie Franchise System, had the opportunity to support our franchise owners all across North America, and really fell in love with the franchise model. Just saw the power behind it and how it allows people with different backgrounds to step into business ownership. So, long story short, for the past 5 years, I am a multi-brand franchisee myself, so I've got ownership. But then I've got good people running them. It allows me to spend most of my time helping others get plugged in. We represent about 600 different franchise companies, and I'm able to educate other would-be entrepreneurs and investors around the country on this world that I've dubbed non-food franchising.
Non-food Now, first of all, to the layperson, I don't think in terms of there's that many franchise possibilities or opportunities, I should say, but there are.
Yeah, there's close to 4,000 franchise companies in the U.S. If you take out food and hotels, which are both just different animals, that cuts out probably half the market.
Okay.
From there, it's which brands do we believe in? That have the leadership teams, that have the profit models, that have the competitive advantages. Ones where current owners in their system are saying good things about their experience. Looking through those filters, combined with who's in expansion mode, who's looking to grow, and has open markets to grow into. That's really how we kind of whittle it down and represent, like I said, about 600 franchise companies and across a wide variety of industries.
So you began as an owner-operator yourself or as a brand in franchising, and then what led you to transition to how do I help others do this? Is it just a big opportunity there from an entrepreneur standpoint? Because obviously you got it in your blood. Or did you see some gaps that you thought could be met and filled?
Definitely saw some gaps. I think that, in some ways what I do, it's an old stodgy industry, and I saw the opportunity to step in and kind of bring a different perspective, maybe a little more of a professional approach. End of the day, I'm essentially a real estate broker, but for franchises. And the beautiful thing is our clients never pay us a nickel. And so I saw an opportunity to get out there and really educate. And, I've just found over the years when I say the F word, franchise, people think fast food. But there's so many other opportunities. And what I realized was most people didn't think of some of these other opportunities when they heard the term franchising. So really had a passion to be able to help others and continue, like I said, my franchise journey as well.
And why so when you say non-food franchising, I know what that means, obviously, but why non-food? Was that because of the abundance of food, or what was
Hey, we need the food guys. We support them. A lot of them can do very well, but my humble belief is there's simply easier ways to make money. Oftentimes they require less CapEx investment, fewer operating hours, maybe less employees. They're less susceptible to consumer trends. Think frozen yogurt. Froyo was popular until it wasn't. And so I think there's a lot of trends, and I'm kind of an anti-trend guy. There's also a lot of businesses that provide for higher margins where you don't have the food waste and other pieces. So again, some people can do very well in food, but for 95% of those that we work with, it's my humble belief, their interest is in non-food categories, and I just think there are easier ways to make money.
Breaking it down for me, what are the benefits of non-food franchises?
Yeah. I'll start by saying, what are the downsides? The downsides are you have to stay within the lines, right? You can't get crazy and put your entrepreneurial fingerprint all over it. But for so many, it truly is a better path to business ownership because you've got a coach on the sidelines in that franchisor. The better you do, the better they do. You've got a playbook. And this is a playbook that not only tells you what to do in marketing and operations and such, but it's a playbook that's been proven out in other markets. The product market fit is there. It's already been demonstrated. You're able to go into the opportunity, really not just having a back of the napkin pro forma, but you understand, what are the historical results you can base your estimates off of. You get to talk to other owners and hear about their experience and hear about their numbers. And so you're able to go in eyes wide open. Certainly there's synergies around, say, supply chain, whether it be for goods or services, because you're buying in bulk as a franchise system. Certainly there's some brand awareness, which matters more in some industries than other industries. But you also you have a community, this oftentimes gets overlooked. You have a community of other franchisees that are living the same thing day in, day out in their markets, and you're constantly exchanging best practices and learning from each other. So, again, it sounds cliche to say, but you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And that really gives a lot of people a comfort level going in. And I mean, of course, when you look at the success rates of franchises versus non-franchises, it's night and day. There's just so many benefits over that startup. And if you launch a franchise, it's not that you can never launch a startup as well, but I guarantee you that you'll be better off in that startup based on the principles that you learned in launching a franchise. A lot of our clients do come to us and say, hey, we're interested in entrepreneurship through acquisition. In most cases, they've been out there looking for several years, trying to find an existing business. Haven't been able to find one that isn't picked over, where the terms and the due diligence check out. And the thing is, even if you do pay a premium and buy an existing business, there's risk to that. What if key employees leave day one? There's going to be some degree of a culture change. What if a key customer leaves? Things that you don't think about until after the fact. And then again, you're in business for yourself, by yourself. And so, once people start to think about that risk side of it, they typically offer a franchise.
Makes a whole lot of sense. Yep. And do you see people that are really coming in strong from they've left their job or they left their career, or do they try to do both, juggle what they do for a living and start a franchise?
About half of our clients step in as an owner operator day one. So they're running the business. Most of them have the intention to eventually put someone in place while they move on to the next franchise or the next opportunity. A lot of our clients build up these portfolios. But half of our clients are looking to go with the executive model, or what we call semi-passive, semi-absentee. End of the day, it's semi-involved. It's not semi-absentee. You're not going to be absent on a business that you own, right? So I don't want to ever sugarcoat it and make it sound easy. But the beauty of the franchise system is that when you've got the support mechanisms with a strong franchisor on the sidelines and all the systems and processes and the marketing dialed in, you are able to put someone in place and let them run the day-to-day. Now, we all know that it comes down to people, so you've got to have a good operator. You've got to align your interest. But if you do have that, along with a strong franchisor, it's very doable. We have tons of clients that have been able to execute it correctly.
That's awesome. Can you give me a feel for like types of businesses that would be a non-food franchise?
Yeah, I'd say the general trend right now is understandable, cash flowing, somewhat recession-proof businesses. It's everything from home and property services, which sometimes can be boring businesses, but both needs-based, some discretionary. So it's things like insulation, gutters, dumpsters, flooring, paint, basic businesses where you can bring a white glove approach to a blue collar industry in
Okay.
a lot of cases. And then it's industries like health and wellness. Those might be a little sexier in some cases, right? But health and wellness has never been more popular. So everything from men's health, TRT, to in hormone replacement, to mental health, to fitness, a lot of different categories there. And then it's categories like kids, pets, seniors, things that you're going to spend on regardless of the economy, right? It's the things you care about. So I'd say broad categories like that, and everything from dog grooming to dog training to youth soccer is a big one in the kids
Really?
space.
Okay.
We've placed a lot of clients that have done very well in youth soccer, or it could be tutoring. In the senior space, in-home health. I think we placed a dozen clients last year in in-home health, senior care, because people want to age in place.
Yeah.
But then there's so many other services. We recently had a client that had bought an in-home health business come back to us 6 months later and say, all right, John, what's a business that can augment what I'm currently doing in my customer base? So I introduced them to a business that installs wheelchair ramps and stair lifts and retrofits bathrooms from an accessibility standpoint. Great complement to what they're currently doing. So
that's awesome.
It's neat when you can see those synergies as they start to build out portfolios.
And so motivation wise, let's imagine that you're talking to, people who are maybe about to transition out of their career or who are interested in this. What is the big why and the big reason behind what you see when people step into this field? Is it financial? Is it diversification or a combination, or where do you see the need?
Great question. And of course, everyone's situation is a little bit different, but some of the common themes that we see, there's this innate desire, I believe, in all of us Americans to build your own empire instead of someone else's. Everybody wants to be in business ownership, but they don't know how to connect the dots, and it gives them a lot more comfort to know they've got a system and a franchisor on the sideline. I'd say some of those that we're seeing, I still think coming out of COVID, the last couple of years, people have said, they've had a chance to think about the path they're on and say, maybe now's the time to make a pivot. We see a lot of real estate investors that are moving over to franchising because you have high interest rates and low inventory of housing, some scarcity there. So they're saying, what's another tax advantaged investment that I can get involved in, which business ownership would represent.
Sure.
So it's a combination of different things, but I think end of the day, the general theme is, I want to control my own destiny. I want to diversify my holdings. I don't want to trade time for money forever. I work with doctors and lawyers that are making $1 million a year, but they're trading time for money, and they understand the idea of getting passive cash flows going. Again, semi-passive early on, they can become passive later on as part of their investment scheme.
And do you see people come in that context of what you just described and say, I want to start with one and really master one, or do they come in and go, all right, I'm willing to invest in a couple of franchises out of the gate? And if they do more than one, follow-up question, is it the same exact industry that they're stepping into?
Yeah. I encourage people to spend at least 3 to 6 months in a business before they come back for round two. I don't think you want to mix drinks too early on because, it does take work to stand up a business. But we have clients that, where a business is very complementary. I think of a real estate broker client of ours. He's got a large team. And he said, hey, John, I see an opportunity to bring in property management under our umbrella. Right now, we're having to refer people out. And so should I buy a franchise that does that, or should I start it on my own? And we introduced them to the 800-pound gorilla in the property management space, and they've been off to the races. So that's a very complimentary example. I've got other clients that, myself included, this is a good diversifying example. I'm invested largely in property services, whether it be concrete paving and line striping of parking lots. I've got a driveway company business. So I've always liked the property services. But I recently bought one that's in the health and wellness genre that does custom orthotics. So insoles and footwear, catering kind of to the older population. So my location's down in Delray, Florida, where we've got a great population base for that service. But we use 3D printing, and it's a lot more fashion forward, if you will, than the property services.
That's super cool. And so do you have a lot of non-food franchises? Do they have brick and mortar still, or are some of them more virtual, or since they're services, they don't necessarily have to have a place, or what have you seen?
Great question. About half of our clients are getting into things that I would describe as retail, customer facing, traditional, what you think of when you think of a franchise. But about half of our clients in some of these services, it is remote. Maybe they eventually get some office space at the back end, but it's not customer facing, right? You don't have that expensive build out. A lot of people like that idea of not having to sign a lease day one, but instead more service oriented, more variable cost driven, and then kind of scale that business over time.
And how do you, when I think about some brick and mortar or even past franchises I've looked into, a lot of food franchises, but investment wise and financially, how should someone kind of in their mind imagine how this works or how it starts?
Certainly, we have some clients that get involved in opportunities where they're investing seven figures, but most of them, including some of these services businesses, when you look at the franchise fee and the startup cost and several months of working capital, oftentimes you're in the 150,000 to 300,000-ish range, give or take. And some people are funding that with cash. Some are using an infusion of maybe like 25% cash plus 75% SBA loan. That's very, very common. Banks love lending to franchises because they're more predictable than startups. And we have some clients that will use retirement funds through what we call a ROBS program, where they'll roll over their retirement funds and actually purchase the business and then pay themselves a salary. And there's a few hurdles you have to jump through and set up as a C Corp. Certainly some will use HELOCs or other means as well. But what I found is for most people, the idea of getting into it is a little overwhelming. But then once they understand that, hey, I can get in for this investment range and here's the potential returns, it's very appealing.
And that's what you do. I mean, you're essentially taking what sounds from the outsider viewpoint as complex, from legal side or financial side, or how do I do this? And your expertise is to come in and say, here's what it looks like.
If I'm in your shoes, Jamie, in Atlanta, here are the top 10 opportunities or so that I would want to be looking at. They're available in the market. That could be a good match based on what you've shared with me, based on what I'm seeing in the market, based on what I'm seeing with other clients. So really curating an assortment and taking you through those opportunities to help you understand them. You would then narrow it down to 3 or 4 to have conversation with. We hold your hand throughout the exploratory process. And again, it's entirely free to work with us. We simply get a referral fee from the brand when a placement happens on the back end, and none of that gets passed on to you. So if you went directly to XYZ franchise, or if you go through us, you're going to pay the same franchise fee. So it's a beautiful model.
Yeah. And how do you set people's mind at ease on your incentive to place them? Your reputation matters, obviously. Your credibility matters. I've seen some awards that you've won. I want you to talk about those. And that in this space seems like a unique thing, for that credibility to be there, for success to be there, to set my mind at ease to go, well, if you're making a percentage of what you refer to me, how do I know you're referring the right thing to me?
Yeah, I'd say where I get my validation is when people come back and buy additional locations of that business, or they come back and buy additional brands from us, or they refer their brother-in-law. I mean, that's what I see as winning. Yeah. And thankfully, we've had a great track record of it. It hasn't worked out for everyone. Sure. Business ownership can be tough. But for the vast, vast majority of our clients, they've done very well, and they come back for round 2, round 3. And we've had clients that have come back for 3 or 4 rounds, and that's where I get my validation. So again, I want to hear positive testimonials from them. I mean, there's nothing I want more than for them to be successful. And it's just like a real estate broker, like I said. I mean, they're incentivized by you ultimately purchasing a house. Yeah, that's how we get incentivized. Yeah. But I think that's very much, they're very aware of that coming in. So we're never salesy. I'm very consultative. Ultimately, the franchises I introduce them to, they'll have their salespeople talk to our client. Sure. But for me, it's much more consultative.
Yep. What do you see when you see somebody successful enter and really knock it out of the park? What percentage of that is the franchise versus the mindset or the type of person that steps into this new venture?
The most successful franchisees, and this is going to sound cliche, but going back to my franchisor days, when I looked across a sea of owners operating the same business in different markets, really the biggest determinants were 2 things. One, someone's got to be good with people, right? That's business, right? Yep. Number 2, they've got to be willing to follow the system. And so if they come in and they think they're the smartest guy in the room, there's a reason why you buy into a franchise system. You say, I'm not the smartest guy in this industry, and that's why a lot of times people do crossover into industries they've never had a part of because they trust the franchisor and lean on them. And I'd say that's where we see the success.
Yeah, that's awesome. And take me through just one last step here in my mind, the process. Like if somebody's watching this and they're like, okay, what are the steps that happen when they engage with you? I know you have a book. I know it's been very successful, and that's a lot of ways that people learn the thought process behind this and what you do. But what is a step-by-step that somebody can just kind of visualize if they engage with you?
Absolutely. We've designed a process that's very streamlined because just like you, I mean, most of our clients are executive level they don't have a lot of time or bandwidth. So what it would involve is, hey, let's set up a call, and we're happy to share a free copy of our book with anyone out there. But let's set up a call. I'll get to know you a little bit better, ask some leading questions. I'll share some content with you, and then I'll have you fill out an online profile that takes 2 minutes to fill out. And then I'll come back to you a couple days later with what I see as the top opportunities in your market,
Okay.
your situation, and I walk you through those opportunities. From there, you narrow those down to the 3 or 4, give or take, that you feel strongest about. We'll tee you up for calls to learn more. And then, it's just a process where the franchisors take you through a series of calls and presentations, really trying to get you as much information as possible about the business. You'll get to talk to other owners in their system and hear about their experience. Ultimately, you'll fly into their headquarters, and get to know their team a little bit better. And we're there to hold your hand all the way through the process with touch base calls. And, we've got funding resources and franchise attorneys that can review the agreement, and recruiters, everything under one roof.
That's cool.
To
It's a
support.
one-stop shop. Yep. That's powerful. I know you're national, but
Yep.
you're also here in Atlanta. So if Atlanta people are watching this specifically, do you see opportunity in our area cranking up, or what do
I
you see?
do, but I will say our biggest challenge is that good opportunities move fast in good markets.
Mm.
We've never seen so much interest in franchising and in business ownership, which I think bodes well for our country, kind of going against the headlines out there. But no, markets like Atlanta, Austin, Texas, Dallas, Salt Lake City, Nashville, these markets are blowing up. So I'm always leveraging my relationships. I mean, thankfully, we're a top 0.1% firm. We do a lot of placements. And so I have these relationships with the franchisors where oftentimes I can bump my clients ahead in their pipeline. So there's always a little bit of that going on, a little bit of jockeying on behalf of our clients. So yeah, our biggest challenge is the good opportunities move fast. That being said, we've placed a lot of clients in Atlanta, and we're always at the tip of the spear knowing what's coming down the pipeline.
So John, I know you've been in a lot of publications, won numerous awards. Inc. 5000 is a big deal. And why don't you talk about that, when that happened, and what that was like?
Yeah, it's just a testimony to the growth that we've gotten for our clients. I mean, end of the day, we do well when our clients do well, and it was exciting to get the Inc. 5000. We had won a lot of awards prior to that, but that really is, the fastest growing private companies. And so I still pinch myself sometimes that we're as highly ranked within that Inc. 5000 as well. But again, it's just a testimony to our clients, and that's what keeps us going.
Awesome. Where do you see things heading? I mean, if you look at end of 2024, 2025, where do you see, I know you're not a big trend person, but where do you see things moving right now in your industry?
I think we've been talking about a recession for about a decade now. So I'm sure that will only continue, but there's still a lot of entrepreneurship on the ground. I mean, I'm doing a lot of placements in California and New York and places, again, that don't get positive headlines, but people are still spending money. There's a lot of needs-based businesses. So the overall theme is boring, non-sexy businesses. I joke that non-sexy is the new sexy, right? That people want understandable cash flowing businesses that won't be disrupted by Amazon or AI anytime soon. But oftentimes it is bringing a white collar approach to an industry that's highly fragmented that you can really disrupt.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's very powerful. And the way that you teach it, the content, we've done some filming together today, our first time together, and I thought your delivery and your stuff, which is a big deal. And so I think people will be really comforted to hear from you, read your book, watch some of the things that you're doing, and probably see you out there even more, because a lot of your business has come through referrals. And then I know you've been on several podcasts, different shows, but you're starting to kind of put things out there to say, here's what we do. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see. On that note, where can people find you?
Yeah, come out to our website, franbridgeconsulting.com, and share your email address. We'll reach out to you with links to download our book. And certainly, if you'd like to take a next step and book a call, just indicate that in your note, and we'll find a time on the calendar. I look forward to serving you.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being here today. I'm glad to have you, and looking forward to seeing all your new stuff come out, and continue to watch you succeed, because you're blazing the trail in this space for sure.
Great. Thanks so much, Jamie.
All right, man. Bye-bye.